Paul Ryan goes on Meet the Press to talk to Chuck Todd. He just blew a huge hole in the deficit, in the budget, I should say, created a $1.9 trillion deficit, which I will reiterate later just for emphasis. Chuck Todd's gonna ask him about this. What happened? I thought you cared about the deficit, but it turns out tax cuts for the rich, and you don't mind shredding the budget. Let's hear him out on his answer.
I want you to respond to something Bob Corker said. He said this Congress and this administration likely will go down as one of the most fiscally irresponsible administrations and Congresses that we ever had, and is referring to the fact that this tax bill spiked the deficit. It's higher than even what was projected, and we're looking at $1 trillion. You walk away with $1 trillion deficits as far as the eye can see.
That was going to happen. That the baby boomers retiring was going to do that.
Wait a minute. We did not have a $1.9 trillion deficit on top of the one we already had. They're adding $1.9 trillion. That just happened because of the tax cuts. That has nothing to do with the baby boomers. We didn't have that the day before you passed the tax cuts. We had it the day after. As a projection over what is going to happen over the next 10 years, that was added by the tax cuts for the rich. But what does he do? Turns out, oh no, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. I mean, the revisionist history is immediate. Because it's not just Donald Trump who's a pathological liar. The whole Republican Party is premised on a lie. That they care about balancing the budget, that they care about national security, that they care about all these things that they pretended to care about, stopping terrorism, etc. No, there's only one thing they care about: getting the donors the money that they bargained for. They take money from the donors and they serve the donors. Who are the donors? The rich and multinational corporations. Who just got a $2 trillion tax cut? The rich and multinational corporations. Other donors, defense contractors, you get all the wars you want. Pharmaceutical companies, we're not gonna do anything to regulate you guys. We're gonna pretend that the opioid crisis is started by Mexico. That's what Donald Trump is saying. Why? Protect the donors at all costs. They never meant a word of it. Fiscal responsibility, it was always a punchline for them. All they were looking to do is take your money and give it to the rich, and that's what he did. Now, there's another part of this that's very important. When he says, oh, it's the baby boomers' fault because they're about to retire. You know what that means? He's coming for your Social Security and Medicare. Here, let's go to part 2.
These deficit $1 trillion projections have been out there for a long, long time. Why? Because of mandatory spending, which we call entitlements. Mandatory spending, which is entitlements, that grows $2 trillion over the next decade. Why does it grow $2 trillion? Because the boomer generation is retiring and we have not prepared these programs.
So the mainstream media is too genteel to call it as it is. That is a lie. That is as big a lie as Donald Trump has ever told. Just because Paul Ryan is civil to you guys and attends the same cocktail parties doesn't mean you should let him get away with that monstrous lie. He said, oh, these deficit numbers have been around forever. No, they haven't. The deficit numbers have been bad. Yes, they've continued. We know exactly what they were. No, Chuck Todd is asking you about the extra $1.9 trillion that you just added. That has not been around forever. That is based on the tax cuts. So total, complete lie. And again, the second point, he says entitlements. Why is Social Security and Medicare an entitlement? Why do they use that word? It sounds like, oh, it's a bad thing, like, oh, you people, you think you're entitled to it. Well, actually, the original reason why it was called an entitlement is because you are actually entitled to it, because you put it in. They take it out of your taxes every week when you get your check, whether it's weekly, bi-monthly, or at the end of the month, it doesn't matter. You pay payroll tax. That goes towards Social Security and Medicare, which you get back later. That is why you are entitled to it, because it's your money. But Paul Ryan says, I already gave tax cuts for the rich. So in this case, he's like, well, it's the entitlements. We gotta cut those things. I told you that they would turn right around, and right after they pass the tax cuts for the rich, they would then say, well, I gotta take it from somewhere. We have terrible deficits. I'm a Republican, I care about deficits, wink, 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 wink. I gotta cut Social Security and Medicare. Are you gonna let him do that to you? That's what this monster Paul Ryan wants to do. Just because he doesn't misspell his tweets, he doesn't go on unhinged rants, doesn't mean he's not a monster, and it doesn't mean he's not a liar. He's gonna try to rob millions upon millions of Americans of their Social Security and their Medicare because he gave those tax cuts to his donors. There is no one more corrupt in Washington than Paul Ryan. One more here.
The current discretionary system we have, the current spending system we have, it's not repairable. You have to redo the system. So in the budget deal we did this year, we created a new joint select committee between the House and the Senate, Republicans and Democrats, to redesign the federal budget system. I've always passionately believed the budget system here is a broken system, and you have to redo the system. You can't just paper it over. This is why we have a committee now between the House and the Senate, which is going to bring to Congress a new budget system. That is what we have to do if we want to get this under control.
New budget system, code word for, well, we got to get the money from somewhere, and we're not going to get it from the rich, because that's who we serve. That's where our campaign contributions come from. That's where the independent expenditures come from. We're going to get it from you. We're going to restructure it and rob the American middle class blind. And Paul Ryan's going to leave because he doesn't want to be part of the wreckage, and he wants to go cash in. And I guarantee you now, write it down in stone, he will get paid millions upon millions of dollars by the people who just received those tax cuts for his corruption, because that's what Paul Ryan is. He's a corrupt politician who serves those rich and those corporations. Chuck Todd, give credit where credit is due. Those are good questions. You should have asked those questions. Now people need to follow up and call out Paul Ryan for this obvious deception. And just in case I wasn't clear enough, I'll show you the graphic too. GOP tax law would add to the deficit. It used to be 1.5 trillion. They just re-estimated it to say, no, it is going to be higher. That's what Bob Corker said. Made him think that was the worst vote of his life. Oh, conveniently after he voted for it, but still, the number is $1.9 trillion because of the GOP tax law. Not because of Medicare, not because of Social Security. Don't let him lie to you. That's what Paul Ryan's entire career was based on. I'm glad that his opponent, Randy Bryce, is chasing him out of the Congress entirely. But you should put an end to all of the Republican lies, because they're coming to rob you. You just watched a video by the Young Turks, home of the revolution. If you'd like to get a lot more than that, get the full show by becoming a member. tytnetwork.com/join.